How are we doing it now? Yo 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 Joburgers, 新年快乐, which means Happy New Year in Chinese. Because if you're listening to this, Happy Chinese New Year. For those of you who do celebrate it, the 1st of February rings in the beginning of the Year of the Tiger. So tonight on GI Joburg, we are going to do an overview of every single Tiger Force toy released, both domestic US and international. But let me not get ahead of myself. My name is Steve, and I'm joined by the usual suspects. It's Paul Deadly Pencils.
Hey, everybody.
And the loving scoopful of Rob.
Arr, ready for the year of the tiger.
Outstanding. But there's
And
a
of
lot
course, our
happening.
host is
Oh.
John Cena.
He's taken a
And,
walk off the deep end. What the hell's going on? Have I missed
And
something?
also-
Yes, I have. I got the time zones wrong, so I'm late to the party. The guys are messaging me frantically like, where are you, Steve? We were supposed to start recording 15 minutes ago. I'm like, oh, shit. I thought I was getting on the horn at 10 p.m. No, 8 p.m. because I've cut dinner short. Anyways, how are we, dudes?
Well, yeah, I also would like to extend a little bit of a Gong Shi Fa Sai. So,
Ooh,
yeah,
flexing the
yeah.
Mandarin, huh?
Yeah.
What you got,
Yeah.
Rob? Everybody was
Have-
kung
have-
fu fighting.
Have a good one, guys. Have a good one. Bye.
I mean,
So,
isn't it
yeah.
just the best thing that it lines up with well, the Year of the Tiger. I got some new shit. Tiger Force, Tiger Paw from the lovely Chasing 80s Toys himself, Mr. Chris Miwa.
Wah, 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 wah.
Lovely stuff. If you haven't checked it out, I did a quick unboxing from the postal box and an overview of the other goodies that he jammed into the package, and then lovely little play test in the garden with my beloved toy. The Tiger Paw has special significance for me. It was the very first GI Joe vehicle that was ever bought for me. So it ushered in this era of like, this is not just a toy, this is a model kit. And what a terrific one to start with.
It's not
Rubber
just a toy,
tires.
it's an adventure.
Rubber
Sorry.
tires, steerable wheels, a weapon mechanism that is linked to the handlebars, cannons, hoses. Like, it's just so much toy jammed into a little four-wheeler. Beautiful.
Cannons, hose. I can't help myself. I'm sorry, I'm in a silly mood today. But that's cool, man. And I love the video, by the way. Like, for our listeners, if you guys haven't checked it out, Steve actually put a very cool video about that on our YouTube channel.
Well, once
and it's-
again, I've got to just heap some thanks onto Chris, who just randomly sort of looked me up after I mentioned it on a Facebook post, and he was like, "I've got a Tiger Paw for you, dude. You're welcome to it." I'm like, "Dude, thank you." But not just that, but he included extras. Some wonderful Dutch confectionery, stroopwafels. I don't know if you've had them.
Ooh, I
They're
love
like-
them
Those
so
are
much.
Fantastic.
Oh,
I buy them
amazing.
quite often from Wilbur's here. So
Woolworths up, puss, man. This is the real deal, man. This
Dude,
is from
actually-
the Netherlands.
I've actually had ones from the Netherlands, and I gotta say, Wilbur's actually are pretty real deal, hey.
Hey, don't deflate my moment here. I'm scarfing those things like it's no tomorrow. I'm gonna.
Yes, no, they don't last. And you know what you can do? There's something cool that you can do. I'm sure Chris, I don't know if you know this, but I'm sure Chris would appreciate me telling you this. If you have coffee or tea, you put it on top of the coffee or tea, on the cup. On top of the cup, and then
Huh?
it warms it up.
Doesn't that just get it sweaty? Oh well.
No,
I'll
it
take
makes
your
it
word
like
for it.
sticky and yummy. It's great. And then you can like dip it into the coffee. That's part of the fun of it, yeah. See? Even, there we go. Chasing 80s. Stroopwafels, best eaten warmed up. So that's how you warm them up. Yeah.
But not only that, and perhaps this is like the surprise that has me most giddy, but he included promotional material catalogs from the Netherlands, and I
I
think
saw. I'm so
we
jealous.
all know that stuff is top of the pops. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's wonderful. I mean, the one catalog I was quite familiar with, I had seen it before. The other is like a booklet that pulls comic book panels from like special missions comics and obviously resets all the dialogue to then weave into this incredible like Dio fic. They have it's catalog shots of the toys, but they've woven in a plot line. I mean, just one. I mean, look, my Dutch is nowhere, but I could get the gist of it. Like, there's a sequence where I think it's Fast Draw who's like trying to find tunnel rats in the MCCs. Like, they've got a mission for you, tunnel rat. Report to the command center immediately. Like, just so cool that someone had the creativity to make this more than just a sales pitch or cross sell. It's like we're gonna show you how you can take these toys on an adventure. So yeah, man, massive props once again. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Chasing 80s Toys. What a legend. But
And,
does anyone else have some new toys they'd like to throw?
I've
into
got
the
something.
mix?
I've got something I just want to quickly bring in, but it's not a new toy that I have, or is it? So I've been somebody's toy mule recently. What happened is one of my toy dealers, who is based, well, on the coast, asked me very nicely if I could get hold of, or go and pick up something for him from a toy dealer that he bought stuff from here in Joburg, like online. So I'm like, yeah, no problem, because this guy, he's helped me out quite a bit with finding some cool Joe stuff and whatever. So I'm like, yeah, no issues. So I go there. I don't even actually know what I have to go and pick up. Sort of send him a message. And it's like, what is actually meant to be in this box? And he's like, no, just there'll be a tank and a watchtower and a Jeep and some Joes. So, and I'm like, how many Joes? He's like, hold on. And I think it's like 5 or 6. I'm like, okay, cool, no problem. Anyway, I go and meet this dude. And I go and pick up the stuff. And in this box is, well, it's a watchtower from the core. It's that shitty Jeep from the modern core. I think it's a shitty Jeep. It's like that little small one. It's got like a little ball joint on the back. It looks like it's meant to have some kind of cannon or clamp or something that I think it gets carried by a helicopter or something. It's kind of a shitty Jeep.
Wait
Like,
a minute.
whatever.
No, that clamp, surely that's for a swiveling missile launcher. No?
It could also be, but I do recall seeing that clamp that like pops in there. But you know, whatever. It's a shitty Jeep.
Is it a 4-seater?
No, it's a 2-seater.
Okay, damn.
Yeah. No, it's a shitty Jeep. Like, it's not even, like, whatever. So I'm like, cool. So I'm like, whatever. And then in the bag of Joe's, Rob, you'll be happy to know there was a scoop in there. So that's pretty
Heck
cool. Somebody was like, yeah, I mean, it's seen better days, but it was in there. And there was like Rock Viper with Broken Crotch. Anyway, what was in there was pretty like standard for GI Joe, but it was cool to see that many. Had I seen that lot before getting some of the Joes I would have been pretty excited. And then the tank. The tank is that very cool core tank that was from the original line back in the day, from like the Gung Ho line. It's like their sort of go-to tank. I think it's been in every single color under the sun. This one happens to be brown and green, and it's from the earlier 2000 releases. I think it's got the word Marauders on it and stuff, but it's that cool tank from the 80s line. Anyway, fast forward a few weeks because things just got hectic. The guy that's meant to pick it up from me, because he's meant to pick up some stuff from that box, a very cool gentleman gives me a shout. He goes, hey, listen, you spoke to person A. The Jeep and the Watchtower and the GI Joes are for me. So I was like, okay, cool, no problem. He's like, when can I swing past to pick them up? I'm like, yeah, like whatever. We set a date, and then he phones me and he's like, I got this really cool, interesting thing that you might like, like, but are you like strictly GI Joe, or are you like kind of cool with like non-GI Joe stuff that's the same scale? I'm like, hey, whatever, send me pictures. Or what is it? And he's like, it's this vehicle, and I'm going to put it on the screen now. It's from a line called Gung Ho. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a box. It says Gung Ho on it, which many of you might know has became the core later. And it's their tactical river assault craft. That very cool little boat with lots of machine guns, and it's gray, and it's got some great livery. It's very sort of military real in my eyes. And yeah, he just mentions, oh, I've got this Gung Ho boat thing, let me bring it through. I'm like, Gung Ho boat? I'm like, thinking. I'm like, oh yeah, that's the core. And I'm like, whatever, I'll have a look at it. And then I didn't realize it was in the box and everything. So yeah, it's pretty cool. So he's asked me if I want it. And so it's sitting here at my house, and I've been eyeballing it. And it's a fun little vehicle, and it's not too broken, like everything's there. And told Steve and Rob about it. And up until now, I hadn't made a decision because I was saving it for the show. But I've decided I am ultimately going to take it. And why? Because it's so cool to have this thing in its original box. Okay, and I'm like that. I want to say I'm not a mint and box collector, or I'm not a box collector, but having this is so great. It's like a piece of history, piece of toy history. So yeah, and I've actually cannot recall ever seeing the gung ho boxes. I can't recall ever seeing a box for this vehicle, like ever. So this is really exciting. It was also really fun to take a look at the side of the box where they have some GI Joes blatantly photographed on the vehicle.
Zap, Stalker, and
amazing.
Flimp. My goodness.
I love that,
Flint.
dude. I think it is so cheeky. It is unbelievably cheeky. It's just great, and it's cool that it's like a proof of concept. It works out. I dig that. And then I had to go through the. I had to show.
It's because
Celia-
they probably didn't have like actual core figures in hand at the time when they did that photograph. Reason being,
Yeah.
the photograph, the prototype boat in the photograph has an actual rope mesh
Yeah,
in the
you can
back.
see that.
Whereas the production toy, it's all just a plastic molded piece to approximate rope mesh. But man, would it have been cool if they had some mixed goods. Like if they actually included a rope. I mean, look, it wouldn't be cool now, 30 years later, trying to get a complete one with all these frayed, destroyed bits of rope. But, I mean, just looking at it in this photograph, it's stunning. What a
Pretty
nice
cool,
idea.
right?
Yeah, very
Yeah.
cool.
And just quickly, just before we go over, I have to share this with you guys as well. At the back of the box, which was great, like they've got a whole listing of some of the characters, the names of the core characters, and you got names like Eagle, like something Eagle,
John Eagle.
John Eagle, and Boomerang Billy and stuff. And I covered the box with my hand, and then I sat with Celia and I was like, come, we're going to go through some of the core names now. And we're going through the core names, and then we're like looking at the figures, and we get to the very end. And that's Whispering Willie. Well, let me tell you guys, I'm so sorry I didn't get that on video because she lost her shit completely. Like, she couldn't
To be
believe-
expected. And if she'd seen this figure, like, did you show her the actual action figure on the box? Because he's got
Yes,
no pants.
I did. He's got no pants. He's so dodgy.
Lordy.
And I gotta say, it's probably my most desirable. In my eyes, it's one of the most desirable core figures, just because it's just so bizarre.
I have about 3 of them.
Nice, nice.
3
but anyway,
Willies for Steve.
so that was a bit of a share there. It wasn't something new, but it's become something new as of today because I've decided I'm gonna get it. And yeah, guys, and that's it. That's like I don't want to labor it any longer because I know we have so much cool stuff to talk about. So, guys wanted to know, is that jet ski with the boat? Yes, it is, and it even attaches to the boat. It attaches
cool is
to one of the
that?
rear pontoons, or one of the pontoons on the aft, on the port side aft section. I actually need to look at the picture again.
Starboard.
Yeah, is it the
Starboard
starboard or aft?
Yeah,
Starboard side.
the port side
Left side
has
is
a
the
mine
port is left. Yeah, it's got a depth charge
depth
dispenser.
charge. Hey,
Yeah. Hey.
not mines. Different things.
Same thing but different.
No, well, aquatic mines, you just sort of leave them in areas attached to like an anchor and a chain. And depth charges, they obviously sink to depth. Anyways, whatever. I know the
Yeah.
difference, okay?
No, that's cool, man.
Well, they're
Rob,
kind of
what
like
do you-
time bombs, aren't they? Depth
Mm,
charges. You kind of set the depth that you wanted to explode at, and you drop it down. It's like as you're actively trying to attack something under the water.
Yeah, in the crudest sense, I mean, weren't they? They're absolutely right. They were sort of timed because obviously you know the rate at which they sink. So if you were trying to depth charge a submarine at 40 feet or 100 feet, you'd know what depth to set.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're not submariners here at GI Joburg. We're toy fans who occasionally read, watch, or play things. Rob, have you... Wait a minute. I'm jumping the gun. I've got some news items that I'd like to get my teeth stuck into before we do any of that. Guys, people have received their retro carded Baronesses. They're showing up at retail.
I love that
That
gun.
was fast. Like they
That was
just announced
extremely
them
fast.
last week.
Gotta go
Whoa.
fast.
Good lord.
And okay, a few things come to mind immediately just on appearance alone, and the brief descriptions that you're hearing from people who have them in hand. The card stock is unfortunately flimsy.
Flimsy, yeah.
Now
It looks that. Like, yeah.
it boggles my mind because Marvel Legends, who are doing the kind of the vintage approach these days, they have these doubled over cards. I think I mentioned them last week.
Mm.
But at the same time, I'm thinking, if that's using half the amount of pulped wood to produce, then at least the environment wins. So I can't be upset like that.
Saving the environment is
if-
half the battle.
Well, look, if the ultimate goal with these is to uncard them, then fine, make the card as flimsy as possible. But if people are wanting to buy these to have this like pseudo vintage collection hanging off their walls, it's not going to give you that in a number of reasons because A, the card stock sucks, and B, the bubbles are horrendous. They extend 3/4 up the length of the card, like half obscuring the Cobra enemy badge, and it's just to provide spacing for Baroness's pistols.
But
I
you
mean-
don't have to do that though. You can put them behind the figure. Like for decades, we've had amazingly well-designed bubbles and spaces to put.
Whoever's
weapons.
calling the shots with packaging at Hasbro these days, particularly with GI Joe, is like hell bent on showing you all the value. It's like you get all the stuff and a whole lot of factory air because there's a lot of space. I don't know, man.
It's too much. It could be that they're doing that to make space. They'd want a standard bubble size for all figures that they could possibly
Is
put
that
in
a
that space.
stand?
Oh, good
I
question.
only noticed that now. Wow.
right
And
there.
I've like I thought that was just reflection, but now I'm looking at this other picture. I'm like, wow.
I
amazing.
can't confirm or deny, but yeah, it does look like a stand in the package, so that's some value added.
Mm.
If you
Also,
can't stand classified figures.
It's
Oh, no,
fascinating they
that-
do it for the 3 3/4 inch figures too. This weird extended bubble.
It's unsightly. Anyways, we can yammer on about the card, or we can talk about the fact that Baroness's glasses are removable, but they really shouldn't be because their attachment points leave these giant squared divots in the side of her head.
Nah,
Yeah.
that's cool.
That said, the head sculpt is stunning. I do approve
It is
of
really
this
stunning.
appearance. Yeah.
The painting is much nicer on this version than the version that comes with the coil cycle. I also like that they've removed the red from her belt. Personally.
Yes. It's a good look and certainly services the need for people who don't want another coil bike in their collection. Because those things, take them or leave them. You either are a fan of Kaneda's bike or that thing's just going to gather dust at the back of the
It
shelf.
just feels very chintzy to me. No, not chintzy. I think it's a very childishly designed thing, actually. So
The back of the
But, yeah,
card
take
is a
it
bit
or
of a
leave it.
bust too. Obviously, the file card is multilingual, which is always a head scratcher to me. It seems like a policy decision instead of an actual practical one. Because the last time I checked, GI Joe is not very widely available at retail in other parts of the world. The Spanish-speaking world, the German-speaking world, the French-speaking world. Like, why are we including all these languages? I mean, I applaud not leaving anybody out, but I challenge you to travel Europe and see how many places, mass retail places, I'm not talking about like hobby stores or like comic book shops who specially import these toys, but like, can you go to a big box toys or big box department store in Germany and buy these? You cannot.
Shem, I mean, at least people that speak different languages can also enjoy the, writing or what's the word I'm looking for? The editorial wit of.
It's a catch-22.
He was a student
Paul.
radical.
No, look, I defy you to. I mean, people who are GI Joe fans now, the old timers like us who grew up internationally, were acclimatized to the way GI Joe was marketed in the 80s and 90s, which was
Correct, yeah.
heavily a real American hero. You couldn't be blind to that, and if you were, you quickly had the wool pulled out from it, right? Whatever. That you quickly, as an adult, realized that this is an American product. Like, anyways, this is a debate we can have another time. But I feel
course,
very
yeah.
strongly that the buying market of GI Joe don't care for the multilingualism, even if your first language is not English. This is
Yeah.
purely a bureaucratic decision that Hasbro
Oh,
wants
totally.
to look good by including all the languages. But practically, it matters very little to us, the buying public,
Yeah, I
no
just
matter
also
what
don't
language
think
you
it's.
speak.
Yeah, and I mean, they haven't even made it a worthwhile read. But yeah, I think that's a whole conversation we can save for another time. But I do agree with you. I do think it is just ticking a box. You know?
Gaz has been to Germany recently, and he said he did not see any Joes in Berlin.
Yep, not
They
surprised.
just don't have the market presence that they had in the 80s and 90s. It's as simple as that. Hasbro's closed ranks. These aren't Transformers. It's not. It might be like pitched as a global response team and not like exclusively American anymore. But the reality of it at retail is that it is entirely American, and by that, by extension, I mean Canada, like North America. That's the sweet spot for GI Joe. Always has been. And in other news, people have started getting their O-ring Storm Shadow. Oh god, there he is. Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes figures. And I have a few observations to bear on these as well. For instance, the elbow rivets. Hey, if you're able to take a closer look at the picture that I've just flashed on screen,
They've been
they've been
colored.
they've been
Or
clearly
capped or something,
painted
yeah.
over. I mean, we only ever saw the digital renders, so we couldn't base it on that. But yeah, these are absolutely bang on what the digital renders depicted. And man, they look
Uh-oh.
white. I
Yeah.
mean, Storm Shadow look
Clean.
white.
Yeah. Like wow. Like it's eye popping. It's not even like off white. It's like cold, stark white. Yeah.
That's what he looked like when he originally came off the shelf in 1980, whatever. You know, it's actually insane to think that you can actually get a brand new pure white.
And I badly
Pure
want
black.
these, hey.
They're so good.
And
I
I would,
would- I would-
pre-order.
I don't know how to do it through Hasbro Pulse, and it's like ridiculous. But yeah, I've got to figure this out because I do want them. I also wasn't expecting them to be here so soon. But I have nunchucks.
Well, yes, that has come as a shock to all of us that Hasbro, after apologizing that product might be delayed and that they're going to do things very piecemeal these days, to suddenly hit us with actual plastic, it's great. They can keep surprising us like that. Thank you very much. Anyways, next news item I'd like to quickly throw in front of everyone's faces is we spoke about it last week. The Collecting the Art of G.I. Joe Kickstarter by 3djoes.com. But does everyone know about Operation Recall?
No, not at all.
Well, give me
I
a
just know
second.
that art book is like a sweet $100, and that's like nothing. Like when I
Okay.
say nothing, I mean that's so well priced. You know,
Yeah.
shipping to your location may not be as well priced, but the book at least is, like incredibly so. Valiverse, Action Force, the second wave, pre-orders, and I believe our good friend Desert Rat is in there. You know, so yeah, so guys, I mean, I believe that just recently closed. If you are listening to this, but hey, go and check it out. Maybe it hasn't yet. But yeah, you can get your very own Tony Roberts figure. So jump in on that. I will definitely get myself a Tony Roberts figure. I just don't think I'm going to do it on this pre-order run. Mostly because I'm still waiting for my Action Force stuff to clear from customs here locally. Yeah, so I want to check what they're like before I get more. I mean, I have faith in Bobby, but you know, let me buy some let me open mine first and see what they like for me. You know, but yeah.
And the backer kits, I think, are open for Roboskull Mark II.
Yes,
And Chris
Skeletron.
McLeod has just shared that he collaborated with Word Burglar again to produce a track that you can buy on vinyl as part of the kit. Incredible. I suppose it's I can only assume Word Burglar's actually composed a track and some rhymes about the Roboskull. And you know it's going to be tight. You just know. Okay. Operation Recall is Carson Metaxas, who's done incredible documentarian work with pretty much all the surviving creators of GI Joe, be it marketing guys like Bazigian to Bill Merkline, who did the sculpting, to Larry, of course, who wrote the dossiers and the comic book. He's pulled together a dream team of creators and has submitted his own character from 1989 to them for their creative treatments. So a Ron Rudat sketch was then worked up by Kirk Bazigian with pointers and things that he wanted added. They've done color sheets and selected the best, I suppose, the option for this character to be colored in. They've kicked it over to Bill Merkline or to Larry to write the dossier. They've done 3D models and then 3D prints of accessories to see it all work together. They've had sculpts done and packaging art done. It's just all come together. This guy's like a radio operator called Ritello. But that's not all. Carson's been doing the rounds on. He did Toy Guys Talking with Michael Mercy, and then I also listened to his interview on Talking Joe, and it would appear that this project is going to have life beyond this individual figure. They could potentially do 4 or up to 16 new figures by the original team, and there's going to be a submissions process. Like if you've got an idea for a figure that has been kicking around in your imagination since the 80s, you could submit it, and he's going to do a kind of a blind draw of along with these creatives of the first or the best 16. I don't know, they're going to blank out the names, and potentially your character could become an actual plastic action figure. Mind-blowing. Thank you to Gaz for bringing this to my attention, but this is some very exciting news.
That is some very exciting news. That's like, wow. That reminds me a little bit of the Mega Man thing in the 80s. Like in Japan, they made it a competition for all, like kids and people to submit drawings to become the robot masters. So all the bosses in Mega Man are actually based on those. And I think
I did hear about that.
Yeah, and I think Mega Man 6 on the NES is actually American. It was open to American fans. So that's
is
pretty
it
cool.
mind-blowing or what to see a newly tooled O-ring, but not just that, to know that every aspect of its development was that pooled talent from the original teams. Like the kind of pedigree that this figure has is incredible. What a time to be alive, guys, to see this stuff still come together. And it's been said, Mr. Mercy said it on his stream, that like the only key man missing from this dream team would be Hector Garrido. But the art chores are, I'm sure you'll agree, pretty damn cool by Mr. Doug Hart.
Absolutely speechless. This is incredible that this can happen, and that they're given up to 15, 16 other people the opportunity to kind of have this happen for them. Experience this whole process. Wow.
I love the pigeon.
And if you're wondering how to submit, well, watch 3D Joe's very carefully. They're not open to submissions just yet, but it's coming. In fact, I think the website's called operationrecall.com. But either way, I'll include the link in the description. So scroll down and check out the wait page, because this is coming, guys. This is like Willy Wonka's golden ticket. You know what I mean?
Damn, and I think and
now you had to
I
tell
think it's
everyone, Stephen, ruining our chances of getting our childhood figures definitely made.
But also, I think
we want to be democratic about this. Well, democratic to a point. Like, I'm sure they will get hundreds, if not thousands, of submissions. So it will be, something that has to be vetted down to a small number and then voted on by these legends. Just getting to that stage would be incredible. To have those eyes pass over your concept. Like, I'm getting giddy. Paul, do you have a concept in mind? Do you have something that you played with back in the... The early
Oh,
days.
not even back in the day. Even like recently, I've played with ideas for like new GI Joe characters. As recently as when we were having a conversation, and Rob was like, "Oh, we should actually have some new characters, in the line." I've already been thinking of that. Like I played around with some ideas. I don't want to say what they are because I want a chance.
This is a developing story, and we will definitely keep a close eye on it as it breaks and unfolds. But yeah, I'm excited. Another
I just
developing story in the same vein. Call sign Longbow have a working sample. Oh, and it looks incredible. It's a falcon-looking fella. Like it's like
that face sculpt
seeing.
is crazy.
It's like that sense of nostalgia mixed with like seeing an old friend, but it's a new friend. Like it looks analogous to every awesome O-ring figure produced in the early line, but it's something new. Like you cannot, like the parts that you see when you look at this figure, you can't place them because they are new and they look amazing. Particularly that wrist articulation. Oh, so good. But this Kickstarter is not yet live. Once again, it's a kind of wait and see. They will launch it when it's ready. You just have to stay in the loop. And, we won't be the first ones to break the news. It'll probably, those accolades will probably go to the full force. But we'll definitely let you know before the window closes. So, yes,
Also,
stick around.
Just a small shout out to Gaz, actually. I just wanted to say thank you to Gaz for actually letting me know about that news. He did shoot me a message to say, "Hey, have I checked this out yet?" And I've been a bit crazy, so I sort of started watching it a little bit, and I didn't know it was called Recall. I sort of was jumping up and down between it, so I did sort of know about this, but without knowing what it was called, because it's me and my head's all over the place. So, Gaz, thank you for that, by the way, dude. That was really cool of you. And yeah,
Beat you to it. Rob, what are you reading, watching, or playing, my friend?
Oh, I started Arcade this week. Arcane. I don't know.
Arcane,
The League of
Arcane.
Legends TV series. But I don't think I like it. And it's not my.
It looks really good, though. That's one
It looks
thing.
really good, but for some reason Netflix showed me the second episode first. So I don't know how that happened. So like then I have a certain expectation because of like who was featured first. I'm like, okay, so this is the main character. And then there are these annoying kids in this first story arc. And then I would go back and watch the first episode. It turns out actually the annoying kids are the main characters. So at least the main characters, but I mean they're kind of like the feature characters. Because it's an ensemble cast. And then like I don't know, this is weird because I couldn't give a shit about these children. So I was very annoyed by this. And then I finished the third episode, and then fortunately the way that the series is structured, I believe it has 3 story arcs set at different time periods. So the second time period, the one started episode 4, and that was a little bit more bearable. I was like, okay, cool. They're not children anymore; they're adults, and what's going down with that now. So yeah, I'll make sure to keep watching it and finish it because the art is absolutely incredible. It's very well animated. Voice acting is very good. Overall, it's a fantastic production. It's just that it was unfortunate that I watched the second episode first because it kind of just set my expectations up in the wrong order, I suppose.
Yeah, dude, I feel you on that. With Arcane, I just feel that that kind of story didn't blow me away. I thought the world building was really amazing, though.
Yeah, it's
like
gorgeous.
The kind of world
the
that
whole
it's set
setting
in.
is absolutely incredible.
Yeah, but also just the kind of world that it is, how people live in that world, the technology of that world. I mean, that's great, but that's all from League of Legends. It's a very well conceptualized world, actually. And I think the story. I'm glad that the story was a little bit more. I don't want to say it's like a good or a bad story in that sense. I think it's good enough to be enjoyable. And also remember, I'm somebody who enjoyed He-Man Revelations, for example, or Revelation.
That's true. You are one of those
that is, but it's not. It's not good. I just enjoyed it, right? I can say objectively that it's not that great, but I did enjoy it. Whereas with Arcane, it's the same thing. I think the production quality and everything is good. I just didn't necessarily love the story. That's
Well,
the best
I
way to
have no
put it. Yeah.
expectations because I mean I've played some League of Legends. I don't know the backstories of any of the characters, and it feels fairly. It's a fairly small-ish story. Like I mean, I suppose
Yeah.
it can get quite big, but it's set in one city. It's like how does lives, how do the events of the lives of these characters affect them now, and how they go forward and how they develop. And I mean, it's nice. It's kind of like more focused. Because I mean, there's like the roster of characters in League of Legends is huge, so I mean, you really could keep telling stories forever.
Which
Yeah,
I think
I'm
is going
curious
to
to
be their
keep
plan.
going. Yeah, no, I'm sure if they can keep up this production quality, I mean, it's a absolutely gorgeous show. Animated, but it still feels like it's painted, like a painted
Yes.
animation, which is so good.
It's such a game changer, that actually. So
Yeah, I think so.
yeah.
I mean, see a lot more shows like that coming out. I think that was the only thing I watched this week. Did I watch anything else?
Apparently, it wasn't good enough to remember.
Well, something that was good enough to remember for yours truly, the Book of Boba Fett has delivered one of the most breathtaking, pulse-pounding like moments in Star Wars that I've ever seen in recent memory.
Wow. I suppose that's
Ever-
quite easy, you know, when it's the snooze fest the whole time.
It is so out of tune with the rest of this series, but I rewatched this single sequence over and over again. That is pod racing. I mean, it was so good, so good. Like, I forgive many a sin if you deliver a sequence like that. So thank you. I guess it's a backhanded compliment because this series has been sucking big time in my eyes. It's so sad that like when the Mandalorian was being announced, you know, I being the canonical Star Wars fundi was like, who the hell is this guy wearing that armor? I want to see Boba Fett. Give me Boba Fett. I don't want to see someone else, you know, rocking his cool look. Well, now they gave me Boba Fett, and I'm like, please
Give me the Mando.
Mandalorian. Yeah, give me the Mandalorian. Please save me from this shit.
I want Jen Joran.
Yeah. So, anyways, episode 5 is a standout episode, and I'll leave it at that. But as I say, one sequence in particular just gets you right where you want Star Wars to get you. Just pure exhilaration.
Oh, that's cool. That's
And
very cool. I'm glad to hear that
flipping the
it's an
script-
improvement for you.
Oh yeah. Look, I fully anticipate episode 6 will drop the ball once again, but
Snooze fest.
5 was a reprieve from the sentence of Disney Drek. I swear, look, it's so evident that Book of Boba Fett is purely trading on the Mandalorian's success.
Yeah.
Like, save on budget by setting it in Tatooine. We've already got all the sets, all the costumes, all the, everything. Like, we can just keep it there and get this series almost like, budget. But yeah, as I say, episode 5 is an exceptional episode. Literally, it is. It stands exceptionally on its own as an exception. And then on the other end of the spectrum, I took a trip to the early 80s and watched a vintage anime, or started watching at least, Daogaram.
Oh, Dogram! Very
Wonderful.
cool.
All
So
of it
good.
on YouTube for
Oof.
free. I
Dark
tell
as
you
well.
guys,
Shit, so cool.
It's my streaming platform of choice. And yes, it forgoes any of the kind of the chinchy, like, anime cliches of like there being cutesy characters with funny faces and stuff.
Yeah,
like
no,
this,
Dogram is very serious. Yeah.
it's even more serious than Armored Trooper Votons.
Yeah, I was gonna say
which
it's
I
like
class
that's
it in the same place. But yeah, it's long and epic, and I enjoy just sinking my teeth into that world because I don't know what South Africa's reception of anime was back in the 80s and 90s, but I feel it feels familiar to me. Certainly because we probably got all the European shows that copied the anime style. So like Heidi.
I think we also got.
or
Yeah, sorry.
No, I can't actually list any more. Like I stall with
Oh.
Heidi. Oh, and there was the dwarves, the dwergies.
Oh, ja,
Remember that
Dawie die
show?
kabouter. Ja,
Dawie die kabouter. Dis reg. Yeah.
dat
Okay.
die een. Ja.
Yeah. It's
Um, but we also had something called Force 5, which was a tragic gangbang of different super robot animes and sort of Star Blazers in there for good measure somewhere. In fact, guys, if you want to check out Toy Galaxy's most recent, well, one of his most recent videos, it has to do with the sort of giant robots craze in the 80s. The sort of what America knows as the Shogun Warriors. Yeah, so we had the Force 5. When he talks about Force 5, we had that here in South Africa. But Dogaram, I think it's, what is it? Something of the Sun is the full name?
Fang.
Fang of the Sun, yes, Dogram.
Mm.
Now, David had that toy. I think he might even still have it. And it's quite cool how it works. It's got a plastic, it's got a die-cast armor over like a plastic articulated base, which is fairly basic. I mean, it's a 5 POA kind of movement situation going on. But the whole point is that you could take the armor off because it's like you're like servicing it. Very cool toy.
Nice.
That was my introduction to Dogaram.
Well,
Well,
it trades on the mecha action, but really that's not the focus of the series. It feels
No.
like that's what they hook you with, this cool looking mecha. I mean, those of you who can't picture it, it's probably somewhere between the size of a Gundam and a Votoms. It's like probably about 10 meters tall with a glass
it's a-
cockpit and a missile pod on the one shoulder. And
I
it's
could
green.
be I think one of the nicer ways to explain it as well, well, not nicer ways, but a good way to explain it is kind of like Japanese mech warrior. Like,
Okay.
you're so used to the anime side of mecha that Dogaram is very like mech warrior, in its approach. There's a lot of stuff going on. But anyway,
It's very political. It's very
yes.
like very somber tone. Like I
Yeah.
do not see any of the typical hallmarks of anime in it. Like it feels like I'm watching space politics, and I know that sounds dull, but I'm riveted.
Hey, listen,
I guess
Gundam makes that work as well. So it's
Yeah.
and the most famous Gundam series in America is Gundam Wing, and Gundam Wing, in my opinion, is possibly the most political Gundam series. So, yeah. Damn, man, you got me wanting to watch Dogram now.
Like I say,
Yes.
it's on YouTube. I don't know how many there are, but I've not had a break in transmission just yet. Like it's not like they're missing episodes, and
So
it's
cool.
in reasonably high quality. Like it's obviously taken from, I suppose, either a DVD collection or a VHS. No, probably not a VHS.
Well,
The subtitles are perfect.
they very recently did a DVD box set collection, and it's like, I think it's like 15 DVDs and then a special kit of Dogram that comes with it in retro packaging. So it looks
This
like
was
it came in the
published-
80s.
The YouTube clips were published in 2013. So that stuff's been lying in wait for me until the algorithm threw it in front of my peepers, and I was like,
Yay!
vintage anime. Yes, please. Why'd you take so long? Paul, what you been watching or reading or playing? Or is it Tiger Time?
Well, just before, and I'm not even going to be long about it. I've also been watching an anime. It's a newie but an old new anime. It's called Parasite: The Maxim. It's on Netflix. It's got a really great dub. If you guys don't enjoy subtitles, it is a creepy ass series. It's very David Cronenberg in that this character wakes up and his hand is talking to him, and it's like some kind of mutant like creature thing. And yeah, it gets really hectic, and it deals with some very cool social issues as well as like personal issues as a like you as a person and what makes up your personality and what defines you as human. Guys, if you enjoy stuff that's just got like a weird ass edge to it, that is a little bit Cronenberg from a horror point of view, I definitely urge you to check out Parasite. And also, thankfully, because a lot of anime does unfortunately devolve into my mystical weird set of powers is greater than your mystical weird set of powers. Now we must battle. I will be the top mystical power asshole in the series. And you're like, oh god, yeah, thank you. Because that's what happened to, there was a series called Tokyo Ghoul. And Tokyo Ghoul was really cool for like the first, I'd say, 10 episodes, and then it evolved into my Tokyo Ghoul powers are better than yours. And I was like, fuck this. But yeah, Parasite doesn't seem to be going that way. It feels like a horror story, and it's great. So anyway, go and check that out if you guys haven't. That's what I've been watching. So that's it. That's all I've been watching. And Seinfeld. So-
Then it's time, gentlemen. Tiger Force. They use captured Cobra vehicles and re-outfitted old GI Joe vehicles to perpetrate daring raids behind enemy lines, or something to that effect. I was riffing on my own, but that was what was on the box blurbs and the card backs. And I think somewhere in that mix, Tiger Force also became heavily utilized in jungle warfare. I guess it went hand in hand with the tiger motif. A tiger's natural habitat is the jungle, and so are these guys. There were a few outliers. Some people that looked perhaps better in desert environments. I know the snowcat being recast into the tiger cat. A lot of people would have it crushing dunes instead of snow drifts. But by and large, you're looking at a jungle outfit. What, gents, what was your personal reception of this concept, if any? Rob, is that a very short answer for you?
I don't think I had any of these.
Correction, you do have one. I gave you a tiger shark once upon a time. Cha-ching.
Oh yes. Yeah, but like not. But I mean, like as a child, like I had no. There was nothing to it. It was just. I don't even think I remembered seeing them on the shelves at all. Yeah, I have no memory or connection to this, at least from my childhood. I think it was just whatever Stephen had. Which I think it was the tiger paw, the boat, the tiger rat. Is that what it's called? Tiger shark. It's confusing. Why is the tiger rat the flying one? That makes no sense.
It's derived from Rattler, but yeah, you're absolutely right. It does not make any sense.
But also, you didn't own many of them either. Sorry.
No, sadly not. I had 3 of the vehicles and none of the figures, which was upsetting to me. I know the figures were out there. I think I recall seeing
Tiger Force. Getting the vehicles that didn't come with with people.
Yes. Paul, I assume, much like me, your very first reception of Tiger Force came in the form of the 1990 European catalog.
That is correct. That is when I first met Tiger Force. Because I saw that catalog and saw the tiger... What is that little boat called again? The tiger fish at like the same time. Like,
okay.
I got the catalog, I was excited about it, and then later on that day, I went to David's place because he was at my house, and then he was like, I've got something cool to show you, and then I saw the tiger fish. So it was pretty much the same time, you know? He didn't buy it, he just had it, yeah.
I think our releases mirrored European releases in that we didn't get the tiger rat in our assortment. For some reason, maybe due to the complexity of the toy, it just wasn't sold in Europe and the UK, and therefore, didn't trickle its way down to South Africa. But just seeing these toys in the catalog kind of made me feel a disdain for the other stuff that was marketed alongside it. Because these are all repaints of earlier vehicles, they had that pedigree. They had rubber tires, or they had more detailed canopies. The fact that the Tiger Fly looked like a real-world helicopter, where just down from it on the very same catalog, they're trying to market you the X-Wing Skystorm helicopter. Like, it just felt like a different toy line to me. These were so cool. Little did I know that anyone who was with GI Joe from '82 knew the actual lineage of these toys and knew these to be inferior paint jobs. But to me, these were the greatest GI Joe toys I had never seen. Yeah. They were on a pedestal. So fortunately, like I said at the top of the podcast, my very first GI Joe vehicle, the Tiger Paw, exquisite. I have no memory of assembling it. I'm pretty sure I didn't have a hand in that. But I do remember sitting on my carpet in my room on the day I received it. I think it was a special occasion. I think it was Easter, actually. Easter of 1990. and just marveling at this thing, like turning the wheels and thinking, what alchemy is this? Yeah, it really was on its own pedestal.
Sorcery is this.
I think I
So
had by
cool.
that stage the quad bike from Bionic 6, and
Oh
it's
yeah.
nowhere near as good. I mean, they're both yellow, ironically, but advantage GI Joe in
Yeah,
almost
well, my
every
Bionic
way.
6 quad bike was like, well, was it a quad bike or a tri? I had the three wheeler from Bionic 6, and that thing broke so quickly.
That was the dirt bike, and I think the quad was called the Quad Runner. I could be mistaken. But the fact that they both fit into the Mules van blew my mind. Anyways, like I say, advantage GI Joe because, yeah, the ferret as a base mold was just exquisite. Then shortly after that, I think I picked up at Dion's a tiger shark, which had been repackaged because I think maybe someone got it for Christmas, didn't want it, gave it back to Dion's, and it had been very crudely taped up. So not everything was inside. Like I don't
I
think the rod that connects the thumb wheel to the fan that was missing. So my dad, in
oh
his ingenuity, took a piece of plastic sprue and fashioned one out of that and sort of plastic welded it. So it looks
oh
great. Yeah,
that's
perfect
so
job, Dad.
cool.
Spins like a dream.
But
But
that's
yeah,
like such an irritating thing. Sorry, in South
never
Africa.
had any of the figures. And man, did I obsess about the tiger cat because it said it can transport up to 10 figures. And I thought to myself, well, given that the photography on the catalog shows it at such a low angle, maybe there's like troop space in the back. There must be if it can transport 10 figures. Meanwhile, it really just meant on the foot pegs. Dicks. But still, it's a
Um,
legendary vehicle and really works in that color scheme, I think.
I think a good word to summarize Tiger Force for me when I saw it in the catalog, the word was wet. Like, I know it sounds dodge, but it like everything. A lot of the shots were either jungle or in a river. You know, like you know what I mean. And I was like, wow, this is so like wet. And I'm
Moist.
sorry if this and moist. Yeah, I'm sorry if that offends people's sensibilities. Thanks to How I Met Your Mother, but yeah, such a. Tiger Force is just sexy, man. I love that
You know it,
series.
baby.
Oh, I
Okay,
love it.
so I think at least Paul and I are in favor with Tiger Force. I have some reservations and I'll leave them for the end of the show. Rob, I take it you can live without the repaints.
No, I mean, I think the repaints look cool. I think more often than not, it worked better for the vehicles than for figures.
Hmm.
I think there's a better consistency across the vehicles as to what the paint whoever was working on the vehicles was doing. Where when you come to the action figures, it's a lot more varied. And I don't know why, but like while GI Joe itself obviously they all have their own uniforms, but like it feels like when you're a sub team, you kind of have to be a little bit more
Unified.
identifiable, yeah, unified as a sub team.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of the time there was no uniformity between the figures. Um, I mean, some of them work a lot better when paired with the vehicles. But I mean, as a team, when you put them together for their end of year classed photos, they just look like a ragtag bunch of guys. It's like why are these guys necessarily Tiger Force and not these other guys over here? So yeah, I think it's a cool concept. It's nice that they obviously were able to sell the same vehicles again in a new paint job, which completely transformed them and created a whole new fan base for the toy line.
An
That's
opportunity to
pretty
get him
awesome.
second time round if you missed him the first time.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
looking at the 1988 carded figure assortment, let's start at the very beginning, boys. Tiger Force, the debut sub team, and I'm not quite counting the Dreadnoks. Let's say Tiger Force was the start of the repaint phenomenon. I suppose then I'm also not talking about Special Missions Brazil, but Tiger Force, okay? Tiger Force.
They were
That's Ground Zero.
first.
They were the true first repaint team, widely available. What figures from the initial 7 stand out as successful updates and which are unsuccessful? And for anyone listening along, we're talking about Lifeline, Flint, Dusty, Duke, Roadblock, Bazooka, and the throwbackiest of throwbacks, Tripwire. They somehow found his tooling and they were like, yeah, let's get some more mileage out of this guy.
Let's give him a leopard leotard, or like to wear on top of his costume. Now he fits.
No, he's-
Okay, boys,
Sorry.
who are the winners? Who are the stinkers of Class of 88?
Well, I think one of the winners, the definite winners, at least in my eye, is Duke and Duke, Lifeline, and Dusty are serious winners in my eyes with this line. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would argue that Flint is one of the best in this line as well because he has the most sort of military style gear. He's got tiger stripes on brown, not on yellow or light brown or yellow on green or something. So I think those are definitely the most popular. And also, I suppose, a special mention for Roadblock's helmet, which is also probably one of the best figures in Tiger Force. Never mind accessories, toys. I love that helmet, man. It's too cool. Yeah.
A lot of people scratch their heads and wonder why they didn't use version 2 Roadblock as a base figure. But all I say to that is, then you'd miss out on that glorious helmet. So, worth it. And also, it's a chance to get Mardus again. As much as I love
Exactly.
the general purpose machine gun that came with version 2 Roadblock, Mardus all the way, man. If you can get it, get it.
And it's also a missed opportunity on Duke's helmet. But anyway.
Look, Duke is missing paint apps that bug me to the point where I actually did what some Japanese catalogs insist that you do and customize the figure. I painted in his grenade. I painted in his badge. I think I painted in his belt buckle as well. And there's some nice sort of what are they called? Belt tangs, or the steel bits that loop through
Yes, yeah.
your bandolier. And he's got 2 of those on his bandolier, and I painted those in a kind of brass or silver. Anyways, I just added a little bit here and there to make this figure's sculpt make better sense, because losing all those details into green shirt and brown strap, it's a shame, man. Crying shame. Flint, I think, is a successful update for all the reasons that you cited. He's absolutely innocuous. There's not an ounce of yellow on him. But, Rob, I take your point, man. Of the Class of 88, there isn't a unified through line between them.
Yeah, I think the closest you'd get to a guy who actually feels like, well, actually, would probably be Lifeline. He feels like Tiger Force because he's got the yellow in there. But I mean,
Yeah.
maybe it isn't just the yellow that kind of makes it. I mean, they can kind of contrast a bit with the vehicles.
Are you
Which is
saying
why
Tripwire
Yeah,
belongs
Tripwire.
to... He's like Hooker Force.
It's weird. I don't know why they did it, because it literally does look like he's wearing a one-piece swimsuit over his normal outfit. It's like he was like the last second addition to the team. Like, okay, we ran out of like material. We're gonna have a female on the team this year, but so here's the swimsuit. Put that over.
That is brutal. You're absolutely right. He's wearing a tiger stripe one piece. Oh,
That's what it looks like. It's awful.
jeepers. I'd never seen it like that.
But
Tiger
the funny
Night
thing
Force.
though is that he does fit the theme really well though. I mean, if you ignore the fact that he looks ridiculous. But I think for me, probably the coolest figures here would be Lifeline, and Flint is a good repaint for adding him to the team. I think. I mean, yes, he doesn't match what I exactly to the vehicles, but I think it's a good direction to go in. You could kind of go in the Lifeline direction or the Flint direction in how you kind of color the figures generally going forward.
Now,
So
there were a few
contrast or
figures.
match exactly.
There were a few
Yes.
figures that fell by the wayside at prototype stage. These that I'm flashing now are custom reproductions of figures that didn't make the cut for whatever reason.
No.
We have
God.
Say it
Wild
ain't
Bill,
so.
Looks like my
Recon-
dad.
Recondo, Sabretooth, Torpedo, Ripcord, and an alternate version of Dusty.
Wow.
And it's so torn because that version of Dusty also looks great.
Personally,
does look
I'm a
very cool.
fan of the Recondo because he's seen
Yeah.
riding Tiger Paw. Yes, his coloring got swapped out with Wild Bill's, and then he got included with Tiger Fly. Um, I believe the reason is they couldn't find Wild Bill's tooling, so they just shuffled Recondo out of the single card land
Then
and
why
made
did
him
they have to change the coloring? Like this version
because
is so
I
much
think
cooler.
at some level they thought, let's just make this a substitute Wild Bill. He looks like Wild Bill enough, and certainly in Europe, he was still marketed as Wild Bill or Wilde Willem. Story. So yeah, it's an interesting history. But the most interesting of all of these has got to be the new guy, Sabretooth, who
Yeah,
is
that's kind of cool. They included. They
Firefly.
tried to include. Yeah, it's literally Firefly, but done up as a tiger.
As a
That's
completely
kind
new
of cool.
character, yeah.
Is he a new character? Like this, in my mind, sets up a great tradition of Firefly being a deep cover agent, and it's something that was his through line on Sigma 6. Probably the most interesting aspect of Sigma 6 was that Firefly entered the series on the side of the Joes, and then later was revealed as a Cobra Plant and Saboteur. Because like there was a string of missions that like did not quite go Joe's way because of his interference each time.
Oh yeah.
It's good, man. It's good. Like there are sterling aspects of that show which demand a revisit. Seeing the DTC vehicles like the Rock and the Rhino is one of them, because it's so nice seeing toys on that screen. But yeah, this subplot with Firefly is another one. Anyway, Sabretooth is not very Joe looking, if I do say so myself. Like, he doesn't quite fit in the same world as other balaclava wearing Joes. Like, this guy looks villainous, and it's probably because I'm viewing him as Firefly with a different skin. But, like, there's definitely something sinister about him. Would you agree?
I think it's difficult to take a character that was. I don't know. Do you design a character? Are they more evil when you design them to be on Cobra's side? Like, are there elements of the character that make them? Because I mean, essentially, he's basically just Beachhead. You know,
Yeah,
another
but also
balaclava
not.
All
guy,
those
but
grenades.
there's something. Yeah, all the grenades. There's something about the way he's designed makes him feel not heroic. Or maybe that's because we know him as Firefly, and that's kind of like. I don't
Look,
know.
I'm gonna
Is it a design
extend
thing
that
for?
point and say that when I've seen like faction swapping, what do they call it? The shattered glass versions of Joes and Cobras. They did like they look like trading cards.
Yeah.
I don't like it, man. It does it. Maybe it's because I'm too close to Joe. Maybe if I was an outsider, but like seeing a Viper with like a star on his arm and seeing like Stalker with a giant cobra symbol on his chest, I'm like, no, no. There's certain design cues that say baddie or goodie, and they like
Agreed.
even in a colorblind world, you can associate the one and the other.
100%. And that is
Thank you.
why when we design any kind of characters for any kind of media, like whether it's cute little characters for kiddies or like when you're doing military dudes, that silhouette needs to read as that silhouette needs to read as some kind of emotion or quality of a character. It needs to read as happy or spontaneous or naughty or evil or whatever's. So yeah, very much so. And that's the thing. Like you can look at even just looking at something, just the shape of Firefly's balaclava. It is very like it. If you compare that to like say Beachhead does feel a bit more optimistic in its shape. In its shape language. It's an odd thing, but it does have that. Also, I just want to just point this out. Gaz actually keyed me in on this. He's like, is that gray on his knee? Referring to the image of Sabretooth, who does actually have a little bit of gray on his knee in the joint, which means that this was quickly mocked up over a Firefly figure
Hand-painted.
for the shot.
They didn't even paint the. Yeah.
Nice.
Oops.
Well, like I say, these guys never. I think if I'm not mistaken, the photographs of these pre-production figures were quickly knocked out for a toy show. This actually wasn't submitted to the public at all. It was just bashed out so that they could show retailers. So the fact that it's fallen into our hands, well, just huge thanks to all the kind of the GI Joe historians out there who probably the Joe Declassified guys and certainly 3D Joes for preserving these images that were never intended for us in the first place.
They living
Also,
fast and
Firefly.
loose back in the
Firefly.
80s.
Oh, sorry, Rob. I
No worries.
steamrolled you.
I'm just commenting.
No, man. I was just gonna say, old Firefly has a garrote as well, which
Maybe he will survive the blind taste test as a baddie. You know, if you took the figures to someone who'd never seen any GI Joes before and said, "Is this a goodie or a baddie?" Maybe the majority of folks would say, "Yeah, baddie," even with a gaudy tiger color scheme.
which I love, by the way. Just got to put that in there.
So only one of us has some actual hands-on experience with the later reissue of this toy, but we've got to talk a little bit about the Tiger Rat, which is probably the premiere piece of the early vehicle assortment. I mean, the Rattler is exquisite, and seeing it in tiger stripe, it's like it's meant to be, right? Like
Right.
the aircraft are the ones that sell this paint scheme the best.
Mm.
Am I correct in saying that? I'm not entirely sure.
no,
I know there's
no,
a
for
real
sure.
world precedent for it, but part of me is like, I don't know, man. I don't know if I like this.
I love it. I love it so much because this was my first exposure to the Tiger Rat. Well, my exposure to the Tiger Rat was my first exposure to the Rattler shape, and it just worked. And it reminded me of the A10, and I was like, this is cool. I really want this toy. You know, like as a kid, I was like, oh my god, I want this. This is amazing. So seeing the blue Rattler, which ironically, my brain, when you're a kid, didn't see the Rattler on the cartoon series as the same vehicle as the Tiger Rat for some reason. I just didn't make that connection or just didn't care to. But I suppose that's also, that's just sometimes how these things work, how colors can actually make such a huge impression on a person as well. But yeah, and then, yeah, at least I feel that's the best way. And I also really love tiger striped military vehicles as well. So I think it's a lot of win for me, and I don't know if it's better, but it's better for me. So
Well, it's definitely one of the better repaints. I mean, yes, they later did like a proper Joe, green one with kind of like camo painting, which looks most real world, at least to me. But I mean, I think as well, this is the way that I originally saw it, probably in a catalog or something. So the Tiger Rat, I think so. I mean, I feel like I had catalogs or something. So that my first exposure to the Rattler as well was through the Tiger Rat. I feel like it went down like that because this feels more natural actually than the blue to me too.
Yeah, we totally are skewed by our late reception of this stuff. But that's always the case here on GI Joburg. That's why you guys tune in, to get this refreshing new take on GI Joe. Like, what? The first exposure you had to GI Joe media was a Nintendo game? Are you kidding me? Guys, the included pilot was a kit bash, but a successful one. Would you say Sky Striker, being largely Wild Weasel's
Thunder.
parts, topped off with Thunder?
Yeah.
Yeah, does it work for you?
It does for me. I think he fits the scheme really well. I think he's probably one of my more favorite characters from the line. Actually, he just looks so good as this invented character. I mean, it would have been nice if he got a completely different head sculpt. That would have been kind of cool. But I suppose, seeing as the entire line is essentially them repainting and retooling and reusing things, you're never going to get away from.
And Thunder, as a 1984 character, is a pretty generic head sculpt. There's no sort of bearding on him. He was 1984's like basic OG-13 style head, basically. He's an everyman. And the Wild Weasel body sculpt is criminally underutilized.
Yeah, he was my favorite red character. I mean, he's absolutely gorgeous, but body sculpt.
I also like that Wild Weasel's body sculpt is kind of like a daywalker, in the sense that it works well for good and bad guys, like the body sculpt. You know,
It's a
the
good
head,
standard flight suit. It's
yeah,
great.
yeah, because the head just changes its personality immediately. Like put a unmasked head on it, and it feels like you've got a good guy. You know, put an evil looking unmasked head on it, and it feels like you've got a bad guy. You know, a bad dude. You know, you just get that
So it was
vibe.
the head itself that was kind of like selling, was keying you into
Yeah.
what side this guy was on.
But
Oh, and
I dig Sky
just a-
Striker.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, I
on
just
a
wanted to put that
side-
out there if I hadn't. Yeah.
On a
Sorry,
side
Steven.
note, on a side note, I defy
about that.
anyone. Fuck you all. On a side note, I defy anyone to find more exclamation points on a file card than Sky Strikers. It was not written by Larry Harmer, and I'm not going to read it out. Actually, let me give an excerpt.
No, do it.
Oh, jeez. Okay, I'm painted in a corner here. I have to read out the whole thing then. You might say that flying is in Sky Striker's blood. He grew up on an Air Force base in Maryland where his father was in charge of flight operations. Fascinated with fighter jets, Sky Striker decided to make a career for himself with the Air Force. Upon graduation with the United States Air Force Academy, he went to Officers Flight Training School to become a pilot. Here comes the excitement. After he received his wings, Sky Striker flew X-30 fighters during several GI Joe attacks on Cobra Island! Exclamation point. He shut down over 15 Cobra Mamba helicopters, severely crippling Cobra's Island defenses! Exclamation point. Sky Striker was tapped for duty on Tiger Force because of his fearless attitude in the face of danger! Exclamation point. Now we're losing our minds. This man was born to fly! Exclamation point. I saw Sky Striker pull off a double loop nosedive in front of 2 enemy fighters, then shoot them down before they could pick him up on their radar scopes! Exclamation point. It was unbelievable! Exclamation point. When it comes to combat acrobatics, this flyboy takes the cake! That's enough from me.
The whole
for now.
second half of that far card is just shouting.
Every
He's just that
single-
good.
Yeah, he's the man. That was most assuredly not written by Larry Harmer. He liked to work in a few character faults along with the good stuff. So I think that leads us squarely on to, unless you guys want to say something about the Tiger Sting and Tiger Fish. Paul, you've already had a go. Good vehicles, solid vehicles. The Tiger Sting had a Euro release, which is problematic because the shovel, because it reuses the Vamp Mark II mold, the shovel is right where the bloody teeth are. And boy, oh boy, can I just say that the teeth stickers on Tiger Force vehicles are stress-inducing. Big time for my OCD. Hardcore.
Gotta get him right.
All right, gents. I think that means it's time to take a trip over the pond and talk about the 1990 Euro Boys and 1991.
Go to Europe.
Psych Out, Outback were released in 1990 and then followed up the year after with Blizzard, Hit and Run, Sneak Peek, and Tunnel Rat. And now we start seeing a little bit of unifying tiger striping across all of them, except maybe Mr. Tiger Force himself, Outback, because he's just loud and proud. He doesn't go with striping. He doesn't go with anything supple. He puts the damn kitty face on his front. But Psychout's got it on his jacket. Blizzard's got a Tiger Force tie. Hit and Run's got it on his harness. Sneak Peek's got it on his body armor. And, the tastiest of all tasties, Tunnel Rat's got it on his bandana.
Mm-hmm.
What would you
And
call that?
his
A do-rag?
Yeah, well, I think bandana is actually more correct. Durag seems, I suppose, right, but I know it as a bandana. I mean, I know that like bandana is, but yeah, it's a bandana. I know it as a bandana. Like, but it
So
looks
is
great.
this an entire wave of win or what?
When, duh. I mean, let's just start with the coolest looking figure of the whole lot. Blizzard. No, I'm joking.
Snow Banana.
Snow Banana strikes again. No, man. Like, this is, like, every time I see this, I'm like, damn, maybe I should try and get my hands on the rest of the Euro Tiger Force stuff. Because it is very tasty. It's very cool looking. I think it's total win. I mean, Sneak Peek looks like such a boss with these, like, orange pots.
I know,
And
they've
that tunnel
actually
rat.
made Sneak Peek look appealing. Sorry, Sneak Peek fans out there. Rob.
Oh, I mean, Blizzard, like the idea of Blizzard just being a desert skiing dude, it's so ridiculous it works. And I remember as a kid, I was like, I really want that.
Yeah, it's odd.
really
It's
want
like, but he's still called Blizzard though, so it's
Yeah.
confusing. He's Blizzard,
Well, look-
but he's a desert trooper now.
It's shocking
On
to
a
think
jungle
that
force.
the snow guys on GI Joe could only ever see action in the snow. Yeah, you'd keep your same code name, but Joe will take you where Joe needs you to be, man. Like if Sub-Zero is needed on a mission, whether it's hauling a ruck through the desert or the jungle or the snowy wastelands, he's still going to be called Sub-Zero.
I love Gaz's response. What did they do to Blizzard?
Yellow snow.
Oh no, yeah.
Okay,
Guys, what do you
well-
think? Like, Rob, like, I'm curious. Like, Rob, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think this is win as well? Because
Well, it feels like they're going in a more unifying direction. I mean, I've established that I like them to look more uniform, and they kind of have gone in more in the lifeline direction rather than the flint direction with the coloring. I think Psychot looks really good. I can see a
so
world where Sneak Peek looks good, and I think it works within the line. And obviously Outback, I mean, he just looks fucking fantastic. I think overall it looks more like they're a team than the previous lineup. So these guys together feel more like they're the Tiger Force than 1988's grouping. 98, 89, the previous group.
Yep.
yeah, it's just,
So I think it's a win for Tiger Force. I'm not saying like that it's necessarily a win for like figure collectors worldwide ever in the history of the world. But for Tiger Force, it's a win.
I kind of wonder if Outback not having tiger stripe pants is a good or a bad thing. I want to see that. I kind of want to put,
He shares the same scheme with Hit and Run's pants. So they're wearing the same pair of pants.
Yeah, basically
just
with
dressed
different
differently. Hey, look, I can't praise this subset enough, but at the same time, it hurts a collector because all of these are priced very premiumly.
yeah.
The premium price.
They're ridiculous. They're ridiculous dollar prices.
I'd say the most
Premium.
affordable is probably Psychart, because if you do get him without any accessories, all the accessories are colored the same as his standard release anyway, so no problem there. The rest, they're going to hurt you, my friends, particularly Blizzard.
Yeah.
Incredible.
And have you guys got any?
Banana is the
So
guy.
have you guys the banana? Yeah, geez, the dangerous dune surfing banana, or dune skiing banana, should I say? Do you guys have any favorites, or do you want to pick two favorites from here, just without like getting into it too much?
Because Hit and Run's standard look is so incredible, I'm going to leave him off. And because Tunnel Rat's standard look is so incredible, I'm also going to kind of discount him, though he's definitely a contender. I'm going to say that just because of what they add to these figures' standard looks, they're worthy pickups. And maybe for the wrong reasons, but Sneak Peek, because I don't like his standard outfit. He's wearing a grey sack.
Yeah, his standard look is awful. I mean, he really wins when he goes into a sub team.
And Psychart, because Psychart's specialty is psyops. So why the hell wouldn't he wear something gaudy and like totally just take you off guard? If he's the guy talking you down from a messy hostage situation, like that's gonna mess with my mind. This guy's what are you wearing, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's me.
I'll go for it. I think Psychout's definitely one of mine because I think it's an improvement over the original, and I really like the original, so that's saying something. I feel like saying Outback is kind of a cop out because it is such a cool looking figure. But
Which is why we're not saying Outback.
yeah,
He would
which is why we're
take
not saying
Bob's.
Outback. But I would say Psychout and Blizzard for me in the biggest ways. You know,
Wow.
the one is because it's an improvement, and the other is because it's so ridiculous. It's cool.
You know it. Rob?
It's actually it's a Hit and Run looks like a completely different character. It's actually amazing what happens when you actually add colors to his outfit. You know, and like don't paint in his face. It's really cool. I'd probably say yeah, I'll probably definitely sneak peek. I struggle between Psych Out and Hit and Run. I think Hit and Run that's a really cool version of Hit and Run. And he
What
fits
strikes me
my
as odd is
concept of
if-
the Tiger Force.
what
Yeah.
strikes me as odd always with Hit and Run is not the fact that his face is bare. I like being able to see his flesh, but the fact that you don't see his flesh on his hands. That's weird. He's got like long black gloves where his hands would actually
That
be
is
exposed.
interesting. I wonder what happened to
So-
him that he kind of
He dipped his
Where's his
hands in
gloves?
oil.
I wear the gloves now. I wear the gloves.
Gents, let's stick with the international releases and flip the script. We're going to Estrella.
Hey, Estrella.
With-
Hey, Marujo!
Marujo, Tiger Force Shipwreck. What the hell happened here?
Something
and
amazing.
Just great things. Good things
Yeah.
happened.
Paul's in his
Good
happy
things.
place.
Oh, I'm in my happy place. I love this toy. I'll never own it. I've reserved myself to that fact.
Resigned.
But resigned.
Resigned.
Thank you. That's the word I was
Resolve,
looking for.
reserved.
Yeah, I've resigned myself to the fact that I will never own this figure, but I absolutely love it, and I'm so thankful that I have a modern era version of it because
For the listeners, it's a grey, dark grey, almost black teacup hat, black, dark grey, the same color trousers, and of course, it's almost like he's wearing Lifeline's Tiger Force upper body because it is tiger stripe on, or black tiger stripe on yellow jacket, and it is sublime. They've ditched his short sleeves and given him long sleeves, which is interesting. Is he operating in a colder environment now? I guess things get cold on the open ocean, regardless of whether you're in the tropics or not.
He fits
Yeah.
perfectly into my concept of what Tiger Force is. I think this is a good Tiger Force figure.
also I think it was just cheaper not to print the tattoos.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that too.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Another Estrella release was airtight, and that's almost analogous to his original because the yellow is the yellow is in exactly the same place, but
You just had a
they've
couple
made
of stripes.
they've taken out the green and given it a kind of a deep brown or burgundy, and added stripes onto the yellow portions.
It works. Definitely changing it to brown, I think, makes it feels more Tiger Force than the green would have. But it's such an easy swap, you know, to kind of make him into a Tiger Force figure because he was yellow already.
If this was as freely available as V1 Airtight, would it surpass Airtight in popularity? The more I look at this figure, the more I like that tiger striping. Because Airtight, bless his cotton socks, love the figure, but he does seem a bit plain. So plain, in fact, that he feels like he doesn't belong with his 1985 brethren. Very plain Jane, non-removable helmet, like a very flat yellow with no... I mean, it's by design that it's not very detailed because it's supposed to be this baggy hazmat suit. So it's
Yeah.
not going to be packed with pockets and zippers and grenades and magazines. But it just is so basic. It needs something. And I look at the black tiger striping on Tiger Force Airtight, the Estrella release, and I'm like, yes, give me that, please.
I think I was just too married to Airtight as being Airtight that putting tiger stripes on him although it looks really, really cool, and I know I was quite tempted by the modern release, but the figure subscription service release, I never pulled the trigger on it just because I just couldn't marry that in my head. Like, I was like, as much as I love the aesthetic, it's just one of those. I have a little bit of money, and I don't know if I can spend it on this for that reason alone. It's difficult for me to say. I think the original design is actually very good, and I've thought as much when I actually got my own one, and just looked at it, and I was like, wow, this is actually such a cool figure. And weirdly enough, a really great character to draw, with these yellow and green. So I don't know. I'm big on the original. I'm not saying this is not better, but it's just different, you know. No, and I like the original.
I'm gonna say it's better. I mean,
Whoa.
the amount of money it's selling for online says it's better too.
Well, as with a lot of Estrella figures, watch those thumbs, guys. They are extremely frail. So yeah, on screen right now we have him posed with his sniffer in hand, but I'm under the impression that the hand that's the left hand is missing a thumb, just because the way it's kind of cradling the weapon, or not the weapon, the device. But rounding out the trio of Estrella releases in the same year, there was Felino, which is Tiger Force Dusty without the soft goods. And it's definitely got an appeal. It's interesting to see Dusty without that same silhouette. Like, he's got a neck. Oh my god, Dusty has a neck.
Yeah, strange actually.
And a distinct character, I guess, if you wanted to play him that way. I don't know. The Dusty mold makes for a great green shirt, or tan shirt, if you will.
Yes.
You could just use him as your standard desert trooper if you wanted to. And the same could be said for these guys as a standard jungle troop.
Yeah, if you had a handful of these, like 5 of them with like Dusty on in the front, I think it'd be quite cool looking, actually. Yeah, like, you know. But yeah, it's the Battle Cat squad.
I don't know how they would have done it though, because surely there's a gap where the fabric would have sit. Like, you glue the top half of the helmet onto the bottom half, but there would be like a cutting of something.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, kind of like fits in underneath.
But I don't know. I will never have one of these in hand, so there's no danger of me ever investigating it to find out. The very next year, Estrella released another crazy exclusive nowadays. Very hard to track down. But it was a Tiger Force Outback as part of their Sonic Fighters sub-team.
Oh, Forestiero. And I recently saw one of these on Facebook. And not
Where?
locally. Yeah, somebody had one and they were like, like, I bought an Outback, but I've just noticed that his pants are lighter, that I get ripped off.
Oh
And
boy,
then everybody was like, well, actually.
Gold mine.
Yeah.
Though, was it in beat-up condition? Because I've seen some absolute dog shit versions of this Tiger Force Outback Estrella
I think
edition going for big bucks, and I'm like, wow, it's missing half the print. Like, there's paint chipping everywhere. It's got no crotch. It's got no thumbs. Like, what? Are you serious?
Yeah, I think it was actually pretty intact. I think this guy was. I mean, if memory serves, I think he was even like wondering if he should just repaint the pants, somewhere in that thread. It's quite a thing, but like I remember, it stood out for me because it wasn't a broken crotch. I was like, oh wow, there's like an unbroken crotch Outback, online, and I was, wait a minute, something's funny with that picture. And then read the comments, and I was like, oh my god, this dude has scored, and he doesn't know it. Like, damn. Like,
It's a subtle difference. I mean, all the kind of paint colors are the same, but different tones. So the pants are still green, the camo is still brown, the shirt is still orange. But if you had them side by side, I think the orange on the Euro release is deeper, the green is flatter on the Euro release, and the brown is darker or redder. But I mean, yeah, we're now heading into mythical territory if you also have all the included accessories. Because yes, it's pretty much the Sonic Fighters fare of like just grab bags of weapons. It's got Deep Six's spear gun from Deep Six V2. It's got Tunnel Rat's machine gun. It's got Dodge's shotgun RPG. It's got DJ's thing, all in black, very tasteful. But yeah, no, you're not likely to get a complete Tiger Force Outback. What is it called? Forestero. Nice.
Forestiero, yeah.
Thanks, Paulie. Then last of the kind of the classic repaints before we start getting into the 2000s, China came up with this very interesting Tiger Force Flint, who's actually not Flint at all.
Yeah.
Wow, Troy must have done a backflip when he saw that, or when he sees this. I don't know. I'd love to hear Troy. Troy, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, man, because you're such a big Falcon fan.
Tiger
So
Force Falcon. Wow.
Head to toe, it's Falcon's head, Dusty V2's body, not V2, 1991 Dusty's torso. I forget where the arms are from, but they are rolled sleeves with grey gloves, so they could be a number of different people. Maybe it's Flint. And then it's Dusty from the waist down as well.
That's a very tasteful figure.
It's great. I mean, it approximates the Tiger Force Flint in its kind of color swatches, but it's definitely Falcon's head. So for all intents and purposes, this is Tiger Force Falcon. And they threw a Headhunter's shotgun into the pack because I guess they couldn't find Falcon's mold. And I think it's Dusty, 1991 Dusty's backpack. So an entirely new figure. Thank you, China.
Also,
it's good.
I think it's very cool. That's a serious win. This is one of those figures where I feel like I've seen it a lot of times before, but because we've put a spotlight on it, I'm like, okay. Like it's one of those you would pass it off as Flint if you just saw it like in a thumbnail on Google or something,
Look, I will say this much: like the Dusty 1991 Dusty's torso is beefy as all hell, and he's definitely like got this plunging neckline, which makes him look like he's a little too stacked for Falcon, if you ask me. Like, wow, dude, you need to cut down on something. The roids. It's a bit of a detractor, but hey, do you think I would say no to the opportunity to own this figure? Hell no. It's a unique version of Falcon. All right, boys, I think it's time to talk some modern toys. But first, a quick diversion into 2003, where we got a 5-pack. We finally got Sabretooth, though they renamed him Wreckage. I guess there was potentially trademark with Marvel. They couldn't call him Sabretooth. But the 5-pack was Tiger Force Stalker, Tiger Force Jinx, Tiger Force Dial Tone, Tiger Force Wreckage, and Tiger Force Big Brawler, who could either be a redhead or have black hair.
Yes, I've seen that as well. It's weird.
Who the hell is Big Brawler? Help me, Paul.
Dude, he just looks like Mean Dog. And that head, man.
Lowlight V2, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say. I want to say Lowlight. Yeah.
Or V3, the 1991 Lowlight. Jeez,
Yeah.
I've been doing that a lot this episode.
I think probably the standout ones for this line would probably be Stalker and Dalton. Although Dalton needs, I don't know, I think the blue should be a bit lighter. The same here. The blue doesn't feel exactly right.
Yeah, that's something that does put me off this assortment of Tiger
Like it was
Force
a
stuff.
lighter blue because I mean, obviously they were trying to go for that same look of the later European releases. Like Psych Out and
Definitely hit and run.
if the blue was
Yeah.
like this right
Yeah.
here with these guys hit and run, these figures would be instant wins. I mean, they look cool because they really fit in with it, but it could be the coloring at the time in the in between period when they kind of just couldn't get the colors quite right.
That Stalker is still cool though.
I'm glad
I
to
think
see Talking Battle Commanders Stalker getting some daylight. So to see him reused in the sub team, because it's a fabulous head sculpt, and while there are weird 90s things about the rest of the body, like it deserved to see some more use. Similarly, like another criminally underutilized Stalker would be the Tundra Stalker, which
Yes.
I think has been reused. It saw reuse as like a mail away, but really needed to be dug up in this early 2000s Valor versus Venom era, but never did. I'm going to say the runaway success for me has got to be Tiger Force
Battle
Jinx.
Cat Jinx.
Battle Cat Jinx. Green
He-Man's gonna ride
jumpsuit.
her.
Well, guys, I mean, her original
I've been
gi
sitting
was
on that.
red, and that's striking and beautiful. But like, if you want to be conducting daring hit and run strikes in a jungle, and let's face it, a ninja of the Arashikage training is a perfect addition to the Tiger Force team. This is the look that you want to deck her out in. And what is so impressive to me is that they still kept the dragon tempo on her chest. Like in an era where we lost so much detail in repaints, they took the effort to make sure that that all-important like icon was there. And I'm thrilled to be in possession of that figure right here, right now. As I speak to you, ladies and gentlemen, I am fondling my Tiger Force Jinx. Courtesy of GI Gary V, serving his missiles for the masses.
Can I just want to jump into the comments quickly. Tim Wild mentions that Blizzard should have been in white tiger attire. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because it's also arguable that talking Battle Commando's Stalker is also kind of white tiger force as well in terms of his pants, you know? Because the original, he has tiger stripes on his original pants, which I've always loved as well. And I feel like this is like the, you know, like if you had to fight Stalker in a video game, this is when he comes back later as one of the normal bad guys in the end level before you fight the final boss. You know, with his orange pants.
Isn't he coming back powered up? Like he's got a palette swap because he's like even more
exactly.
hardcore.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. Yeah, or something. But yeah, I wanted to put that out there.
Okay, so it took almost 15 years by my math, but we finally got Sabretooth, aka Wreckage. What do you think, guys? Success? Failure? Are you indifferent? Does he still look like a baddie? At this time, they went with generally a black jumpsuit instead of the gray. So it kind of looks even more villainous, to be honest.
Yeah, it looks a bit more core. No.
Yeah, weirdly enough, I can see that. But that's
Even
also
like
because
the
of the way
paint
that
apps.
they made the figures in the in between period. The way that they made them, the materials they're using, it felt more core-ish, which is weird
like-
because the core figures are still hard plastic. You know, they're better made, I think.
And shame, what happened to his hands? Did he burn his hands because his hands are so pink? You know, I think it's definitely not an improvement over the original prototype. I think the original prototype is spot on in terms
Much
of
better,
yes, it does
yeah.
look like a bad guy, but at least it's a more attractive looking figure. You know,
Look,
my
I'm
eyes.
gonna almost turn 180 and say I
Alright.
look forward to seeing additions to the GI Joe line this late in the line. Like at least this gift set gave you a new character that you never could have had before. So someone on the team developing this set was thinking like, let's not just do repaints. Let's have one signature character that you can only get through this set. So that's kind of cool. And dusting off an old concept, amazing. So yeah, I'm enthusiastic about it, at least in theory. Perhaps not so much in practice. And I know Justin Bell of General's Joe's, he used Wreckage quite a bit in his Dio stories. So that's always a thrill. Last time I checked, I think his website was under maintenance, so I couldn't find them. But keep checking, man. I'm sure a good Dio writer can't be kept down.
Check out Budface69's comments like, damn, red dye and Skittles, Wreckage.
Spot on.
Like, shame, man. Like, those pink hands. Ooh, they freak me out a little. Anyway, carrying on.
All right. I think it's time to head into the modern era, dudes, and we can do them almost in one fell swoop. In 2015... Oh, no.
Oh, do you want to go that far? You don't want to look at like the 2004 line? Because there are some...
Jeez.
No, I mean, I hear you, but like, I think
What did I
think
miss?
there are some... Well, Beachhead, Oh, Ross.
What?
Yeah, dude.
Beachhead?
Yes, in the 2004, it was also one of those packs where they like did a whole bunch of Tiger Force dudes. There's a beachhead and this funky looking dude. Images, compliments of yojo.com. There we go. Everybody, there you can see it, the orange beachhead. So I'm sorry that it's like so zoomed out. But you guys can also visit yojo.com and go and check it out. Yeah, he's Ross. And that's an orange drink that you mix with water here in South Africa. And the
Very
mascot looks
orange.
so much like this. He's very orange. It looks, and he's
But-
just looks super stoned. Like,
But generally, the 2004 lineup are very. I mean, that is a pack where it's very unanimously they're together. I mean, it's all shades of this orange with brown and some greens, and that also increases new characters. A character called Crosshair. Alpine is in that lineup.
Yeah.
Mutt's in there, and Zartan as Hawk.
there we go.
Is in
And
there
like,
too. So you get it's wild. You get a Hawk Tiger Force. Even Hawk got in on the Tiger Force.
And he's not even Hawk, which
early
is like
2000s.
which is really
It's not even
interesting.
him.
And like, I think this dude straight out of a Beastie Boys music video. The Tiger Force hot
You-
top.
you took it a little too
Tiger Force hard top. My goodness. What possessed someone? I mean, it's wonderful to see these figures seeing the light of day again. It's unreal. And I suppose if you're going to do something with the hard top mold, you might as well do something this crazy. He's head to toe orange and tiger stripe. Amazing.
It's madness. I love it. He looks like a breakdancer. I dig it. Zartan Hawk. Them pants are cool. Anyway, so I had to put a spotlight on that stuff because it's just so unusual. You know.
Yeah. It's easily missed, and obviously it was completely skipped over because they all what. But I mean, this is finally a version where they are kind of very unified in their look.
Yeah, they're
but
all
like-
orange.
They are all orange. It would have been make it more yellowy. It might have worked a lot better, but it feels more
Yeah.
realistic. This lineup, and what they're trying to do. I think.
I
Yeah.
have not seen a group shot of every single O-ring Tiger Force guy. I've seen
Ever.
lots of like the vintage era guys, but not many of them including all the 2000 stuff. So someone out there, the big Tiger Force fundies, get a hold of GI Joburg on
Make
a
it
real
happen.
South African hero at gmail.com and show us your collection. Because
Yeah.
I think there'd be something quite spectacular about seeing all of these guys. Because they do have, like, in the complete smorgasbord of crazy, like, colors, there are various motifs that are repeated. So you'll have shared pockets of similarities that makes up this, like, almost mosaic of Tiger Force figures. So there's definitely something there that knits them together in ways that a general group shot of GI Joe wouldn't. You'd get primarily green and then these pops of different colors, but like strip that away and just leave the Tiger Force guys, and then you've got an interesting visual. It's got to be.
So Tim Wilde said something as well that I appreciate as well. He mentioned that he says, I think the Tiger Force paint jobs are hideous in general. That's fine, I think a lot of guys do. But conceptually, with the idea of refurbishing Cobra gear, what's the point of including so many characters? It just becomes a gimmick. I do fully agree on that. I think Tiger Force should be a handful of guys. And in my brain, I kind of like the idea of them sort of switching out. You know, Tiger Force is like a secret club almost, you know? So it's like if some guys are on missions, then are on mission, then other guys replace them in Tiger Force for that specific, you know, for them to go on like a covert op. Anyway, don't want to get into that. Just a thought, cool comment. Thank you, Tim Wild. Moving on, man.
Oh,
To-
yeah. Well, the modern era basically tried to do everything that had been done before in Tiger Force. There were some smatterings of them in the main line. The figure subscription service picked up the slack big time. But in 2015, that was the theme of that year's JoeCon, and it was Iron Grenadiers versus Tiger Force. The Tiger Force contingent consisted of Big Brawler, Lifeline, Stalker, Dial Tone, Wreckage, and Recondo in his prototype look, not his Tiger Flight pilot look. In terms of vehicles, we had the Tiger Rat with Wild Bill. Paul, you can offer some personal insight on that and its sucky stickers.
So good, shit stickers.
The convention also yielded some vehicles. The Tiger Shark, which was the Stingraider, or I don't know, the modern, what do you call that thing?
Yeah, that's called the Stingraider. Yeah, you're
The
right.
Water Moccasin was
Yeah.
presented along with Felino, which is the Tiger Force Dusty.
That
the
is actually a
Tigers-
very cool nod. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I know, right? He definitely they definitely cheaped out by not giving him soft goods. Well done. But guys, it's from Estrella. Bazooka came with a updated Tiger Sting, which most of you will probably see as the Danger at the Docks Vamp Mark II presentation, but then done up in the Tiger Force scheme. And holy crap balls, dudes, did they blow the barn doors off by offering the Tiger Hawk, which is the Tomahawk in Tiger Force livery. Mind blowing. Well, it's the Eagle Hawk. Let me correct myself.
There is a scene in a game called Far Cry 3 where you fight a tiger decoed, I want to say it's a Black Hawk. It's a fairly big helicopter. And man, it's the coolest thing. And it wasn't that long after that release of the game, or the release of the game, that they had that this was in the convention. And I wanted this, dudes. I really wanted this.
Okay.
It's just wow. What is it? $250 or something like that at the time. Anyway,
Which
carrying on.
feels like chump change now, because that's what you'll expect to pay for bloody HasLab.
Shipping.
Yeah, that too. But here's the rub, dudes. I guess I'm gonna show my stripes as a Tomahawk guy and say that this doesn't work for me. It just, like, the Tomahawk is more detailed with its own color scheme than this toy, which flattens everything and makes what is probably GI Joe's most realistic looking piece of equipment, additional tail rotor notwithstanding, it makes it look very toyetic. And it's not helped by the fact that, like, the mouth doesn't look right, because everything's set far back because
I'm
of
happy
the
to see you.
nice expansive canopy that the Tomahawk has, means that the mouth and the features need to be pushed back. This is
Got
not
a big nose.
well, it's not a jet aircraft that has a nose. Like a helicopter, the crew is seated all the way forward like that. So it's taking up the real estate that would otherwise be the mouth and the eyes. So I don't know, man. I guess it's a victim of, like, unflattering photographs, because I've only ever seen it photographed by a select few people that got it, and maybe they don't have the most expert photographic skills. But yeah, this doesn't work for me.
Yeah, it's listen, I dig it. I said so earlier. I'm not gonna roll back on that, but I do think it's got a very friendly face.
It looks very happy.
Hey, I'm gonna kill you.
I can see where Steven's coming from. It does feel more like a toy than the original or the Eagle Hawk.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is. Yeah, the coloring.
Maybe it's got to
Like,
do
I
with the
would've
fact that
thought-
it's got far few decals, like far
Yeah.
fewer than the
It
original.
could be that, but also maybe it's because it's a Joe vehicle, colored into
Yeah,
Tiger
there's also
Force.
that side of it.
You know, with like Tiger Force previously, I mean, the majority of vehicles was just Cobra repaints, but now you're taking an actual Joe vehicle. It's like, it's kind of like what Tim was saying earlier. It's become a gimmick. You know, they're the gimmick force where, like, they're not even like using their enemies stuff now. They're literally just taking their own stuff and repainting it into Tiger Force. It's like we're the premier sub team. I mean, we're not even a sub team anymore. It's basically GI Joe Tiger Force now. If you don't wear the stripes, you're not part of the team.
No, true.
And then,
look
courtesy of JoeBattleLines.com, we have
That
a
is a great
beautiful
picture.
group shot of all the modern era Tiger Force action figures. And my goodness, did they get through quite a few of them. Flint and Duke, I think, were in the second year of the 25th anniversary. So right off the bat, they were pumping out the Tiger Force. What is it about Hasbro loving that sub-team more than anything else? More than Night Force, more than Sonic Fighters. Like, it's Tiger Force, baby. And they've demonstrated that
it's
immediately in the
wild.
classified line, too.
Because, I mean,
yeah,
you think
true.
choosing... Because, I mean, if it's a cost thing, you think, just put them all in black. Night Force, easy. You're winning. Because literally just one color across all the characters. Well, here, there's actually an effort. There's a thing... You have to do a lot more to make it work. You know?
Well, surely we've tapped into the fact that, like, there is a massive following for this subgroup. Like, people might deride it to the high heavens, but Hasbro knows, they know that there are people in their droves that will buy gaudy tiger patterned GI Joes.
And also, that Stalker is on point. I love that Stalker. The Outback is great. That Outback will always be second best to the one that Jim made me, because the one that Jim made is incredible. But yeah,
Look, by all accounts, the figure subscription service Tiger Force Outback has some weird body part choice issues that make the sum of the parts not so great. Like, there
I
are
never bought
better
it.
parts that the figure subscription service that the club could have chosen and didn't. Do you like your Marujo, Paul?
I love my Morojo. That is a very, very well put together toy. It's like, in a lot of ways, it's like the best version of Shipwreck. Like, just, yeah.
Care to
I just
expand on
love-
that?
The arms are cooler because every time they've done Shipwreck at Modern Era, he's always got like funny, weird Popeye kind of arms, and because he's got sleeves here, it kind of ties the figure up together quite well, which I really dig. And I like the choice of the head sculpt. You know, I thought that was a serious win. Not that the old head sculpt is bad. It's just it's just something about the application of paint on the Tiger Force version that this figure subscription service did that just made it better. You know, and I appreciate that actually. I think that's a really great thing. Also, it was a gift from you, Steve. So, that also elevates it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Clearly.
and guys,
clearly.
yeah. But like, it's one of my favorite figures, and in fact, I think it's one of my. Well, I would say if I have to separate modern and vintage, it's probably one of my favorite modern era figures. And if I have to look at it just in the GI Joe toys as a whole, it's also one of my favorite toys. I really, really love that toy. That and my Outback that Jim made me. So
I just want to highlight a comment from Buttface69, who has a great explanation for the place of Tiger Force, that they could be GI Joe training force / aggressors, where dudes come to play the enemy. Absolutely. So these guys could be like the seasoned GI Joe veterans who, just like in Top Gun, play the bad guys in training exercises. That's cool.
That
They've
is
got
a
cool-
very cool
Yeah.
suggestion.
Yeah, man. I mean, they have to be identifiable because they are the enemy. So they go with Tiger Stripe. Cool.
And Shipwreck needs something to do, right? So
I think, I mean, Tiger Force is very well represented in modern era. I mean, from Hasbro themselves, from the club. Like, it's incredible that they reproduced so many of the Tiger Force characters in modern era. It's just really awesome. Probably my standouts here will probably be Stalker. I think that the version of Airtight is really good too. Maruyo is also fantastic. The one that I really don't like, because I was just taking a closer look at him, is Daltone. I don't know, but he feels over-designed. Way over-designed. Like, there's just, like, weird shoulder pads. And they're like the sleeves, and they end with like little silver cuffs, and it's awful. And then like he has like just like he kind of like spray painted a couple of lines onto his knee pads to be like, okay, I'm even more Tiger Force now.
I'm even more tiger. Yeah.
Yeah, I think he's probably the stinker for me, at least in the modern era.
So there is some banter in the chats about Tiger Force Alpine rocking shorts, which is a strange look. But
It's
we have
odd, but he's always had shorts, hasn't he?
no,
I mean,
no.
if you
We've
look
got
back at
we've got
the earlier figures.
the middle years of GI Joe to thank for it. It's a big shoulders era design that has been
Oh
brought forward here.
yes,
Yeah, 'cause he
Classic
has some-
Alpine had brown long trousers or cargo pants.
it
Yeah.
does actually look. It looks so weird now.
George.
It's very civilian.
George,
But
George.
I keep coming back to a point made by FormBX257 in his review of Alpine, and that even the version 1 1985 figure is basically a civilian climbing outfit in military colors. Like nothing on that figure sculpt screams this is a soldier, apart from the color palette. He doesn't have a sidearm, he doesn't have a grenade hanging off him, he's got no kind of ranking insignias, nothing like that. He just looks like a guy in a bomber jacket with an undershirt and some brown slacks and some boots. So they really pushed him into the civilian territory with his 2000s iteration. Yeah, man. It's a weird time for Joe. I think we can all agree. But they
Totally.
did some things that have been retained, and good things at that. Like, it's not all bad. We did an episode about it a long time ago. Okay, I'm sure we found some things that the new sculpt era actually improved upon. I think. Okay, boys, we've come to the end of a pretty wild tiger ride. But before we tie this episode up in a nice tiger striped bow, I think it's important to pick out a vehicle and a figure that are our personal high watermarks. For me, Tiger Force Outback is untouchable. It just provided a new character, essentially. As far as I'm concerned, he is a man amongst boys. He is the veteran G.I. Joe operative. And in that respect, he is second to none. Nobody's got a head of white hair and looks that grizzled, and yet pulls off that ridiculous t-shirt. And in the vehicle stakes, as sentimental as I am about the Tiger Paw, you're gonna have a hard time beating the majesty of the Tiger Fly, aka the Dragonfly. It just works, nose to tail, a beautiful, beautiful helicopter, and a really solid use of the deco. I think everything on it just works. Probably because the base vehicle is excellent, but yeah, it really does benefit from the mouth and the teeth and the eyes. Perfect. How about you, fellas?
Oh, which one do I think is my favorite? Probably I'd have to go with, like, I want to say Sneak Peek because I think it's a really cool recoloring, but at the same time, the blue kind of makes it look like he's wearing jeans, and that's a bit weird to me. I think probably the version that looks the sweetest and actually looks like a proper Tiger Force figure would probably be Sky Striker. I think it's a good reuse of the Wild Weasel body, the Wild Weasel buck, whatever that word means. And yeah, I think he looks probably one of the best repaints, and as being an original character, it's a cool addition to the line in general. As for vehicles, I'm gonna have to say my favorite is the Tiger Sting, and that's completely based off nostalgia. Even though, yes, Steven had the Tiger Shark, it's a cool little sub thing. I think the Tiger Skin is just a fun little vehicle to play with, and a really good repainting of the original vehicle. Tiger Rat looks absolutely fantastic. I don't think they went wrong with any of the original vehicles. They all look very consistent, and yeah, it looks really, really fun in general. But I think, yeah, Tiger Sting for nostalgia purposes, it sits right in me. It feels right as a Tiger Force vehicle.
Okay, so my favorite Tiger Force vehicle and figure. Guys, you know how it is. like I have a lot. Let's take Outback off the table. I think that's the safest bet, because I think he's everybody's favorite in GI Joburg. I gotta say, man, Tiger Force Dusty, Tiger Force Flint are pretty awesome. I really love Lifeline. And I want to try and keep this vintage, but I really do love my Tiger Force Shipwreck. It is really a really special figure for me. It speaks to me in a lot of ways. And it's a cool toy. It's a really, really cool toy. I'm kind of sad that I don't have a vintage equivalent. Maybe I need to go out of my way and actually get a vintage one and just paint it up as Murojo. But yeah, I'm gonna say, yeah, let's make it Tiger Force. Shipwreck is my favorite that I don't have in vintage, and Tiger Force Psych Out and Tiger Force Flint are tied for being my favorites. And then as for vehicles, that's tricky, man. They're great. Is it a cop out to say I love all of the Tiger Force vehicles? I love the Tiger Rat. I think it's really cool. The Tiger Sting. I'm going to go with that at the moment. I think that's currently my favorite Tiger Force vehicle. It's the one I brought home with me to put Outback in, and I can go on tons of adventures with it. And yeah, fine, it's just a repainted Vamp, Stinger, but it's really, 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 really great, and I really dig it. A close second to that would actually be the Tiger Fly. Tiger Fly is an incredibly fun helicopter. It's my first and only real experience with the Dragonfly, and it's special in all of the ways that it should be. Actually, that's not true. It's not my first experience with it. My first experience was that Dragonfly that you had repainted, Steve, and then you sort of painted over the cockpit, over the canopy to make it look kind of stealthy. That one, that was my first experience with a Dragonfly type thing, but the Tigerfly is the winner. Okay, I'll stop talking now, guys. Cool.
I'm also running on fumes, gents. We've taken our shot of tiger blood, and the effects are now starting to wear off.
I've got
We've
one
looked
question
into
to
the
ask
eye
you
of the
guys.
tiger.
Yes. And it's going to be a little bit of a lead-in. Okay, so the Python Patrol is sort of touted as the opposite to Tiger Force. It's the baddies for the Tiger Force, right? Okay. So Steve recently did a very cool video on the Python Patrol Conquest, which you guys should check out if you haven't yet. It's very cool. I'm also in possession of one of those jets, and I absolutely love it. But I'm stuck with a little bit of I'm stuck in a quandary with this jet. Who pilots this thing? Who flies this bird? Like, which GI Joe or Cobra character do you think should be the pilot for the Python Patrol Conquest?
I answered that in my review. I think,
Whoa.
Rob, take a shot, my friend. Take a stab.
Oh. I'm trying to think who would be a good pilot for it.
Because I feel like a Stratoviper is too much.
Why, he's too much of an expert for it. He's like, nah.
Yeah, it's almost an over.
Keep me out of there. It's not real. It's not a real vehicle. It's an enemy piece of rubbish. Why are you doing this to me?
Well, I'm
not sure. It's a difficult because also like what colors go with the vehicle easier. I mean, yes, he has to sit in there, but like he kind of still. I feel like he has to look good with the vehicle.
I wish mine
Can I
had the great
dial
bonus.
your thoughts back to a little mini series called Operation Dragonfire, Robbie? There's a character who jumps into the cockpit of a Python Conquest X30 and shoots down Copperhead in the another Python Conquest X30. He shoots down Aero Viper in the front section of a Condor, and he shoots down Serpentor in the back section of the Condor. Can you recall what character that might have been?
I can't. I I'd like to think it was Scoop, but
Ding, ding, ding. We have a winner, ladies and gentlemen.
no
winner.
The
way.
best pilot for the Conquest X30 Pythonized is none other than Scoop.
I gotta say, I want a Pythonized wild weasel for that. But yes.
I want a Pythonized Scoop for it. Come on, man. He was wearing a Crimson Guardsman uniform at the time, but
Ooh.
it was
Damn,
definitely
I watched
Scoop.
that miniseries again.
But
Oh,
anyway,
Rob,
yeah,
we
I
need to
just had
get you a Python Conquest because you've got a Scoop with a Crimson Guardsman outfit,
Yes.
courtesy of Dan the
that'd
Man
be
Szymanski.
perfect.
Hey, Dan.
They go well together. Damn.
Hmm.
Damn, Dan.
But okay, I totally stole your answer. What would have been your choice?
I probably would have gone with Wild Weasel too, actually.
Cool.
I still feel like he's the best pilot that Cobra has. That maybe isn't so much of a prima donna, like not Astro Vipers. What are they called?
Stratos. Yeah.
Strato Vipers. I was gonna say Altitude Vipers.
No, I was curious,
Wild
man.
Weasel is touted as like the kind of guy who flies it all, whether it's
Yeah.
a chopper or a jury-rigged like crop duster with a rocket on it, or a sophisticated jet. So having him hemmed into the ground attack role is kind of limiting for like Cobra's premier ace. Like, give him
Yeah.
a jet, and the Conquest X30 is like the coolest jet Cobra could steal. So, yeah, do it.
So there's two options for you, Paul.
Cool, man. I just want, yeah, because I want to fly this thing around the house and,
Do it.
and,
Can't have not someone in there.
Yeah, and
Someone's
I
got to
was
be in there.
curious to hear what your thoughts were. Seeing as I've got a Strato Viper. It's currently in the Raven, but
Nah,
yeah,
they're too much. They're snobs. They're not fighters.
yeah, they're too tied to the
snoops.
Raven. Yeah,
I use an AVAC because I got an AVAC
That
and
was-
no Firebat.
you see, that's also a great choice because it looks good in the canopy as well. So
And also, I reason that the Firebat can be used autonomously. It's designed as a drone. It's called a Firebat drone. The only reason it accepts an occupant is because that's how our brains worked as kids. Like, we didn't want a lump of plastic that you couldn't stick a figure into. So, of course, it's got a glass canopy and you can put a figure into it. But, like, it's a bit insulting putting AVAC, like a sort of a really advanced air viper. I think that's what the acronym is, advanced class. But I think someone also said aggressive something. Like, there are various potential explanations for that acronym. I don't know if any of them are officially endorsed. But anyways, AVAC is my guy because I do not see him like being satisfied with being in the Firebat. Though I'm sure they're a hell of a crazy plane to try and wrangle. If you want a more substantial jet fighter that perhaps might have a bit more loitering time, because let's face it, like the Firebat, it's up, it fires, it's down. It doesn't have the fuel to stick around. Yeah. Anyways, conquest me. We've been
Cool.
GI Joburg. This has been episode 235. If you are in the mood for more GI Joburg, you can join our Berg Force for as little as $3 a month, and you have access to these episodes a day before they go live. You also could join us live in the audience if you happen to be available at the crazy hours that we broadcast.
and also a special welcome to Sam. Not just a surface-to-air missile, but also a member of the Berg Force and a Patreon member. So welcome to the Berg, dude. It's
gonna
on the
blow
Berg
it
now.
up.
And we're happy to have you, and thank you so much for your support. And
Thanks for the guys who have been dropping into the comments on this session.
Yeah, it's
Awesome,
been
awesome to
great.
see the usual suspects in attendance, plus a few new faces. Yep, good times.
Yo, Joe. Berg to your mother.
Berg. I'm not going to join in on that thing because it never times well. Like, we always kind of jump in and out at different
Sounds
times.
amazing. You're a
Is
tiger.
that the appeal?
You're the tiger.
Berg to your
guy.
mother. Tiger, Berg Force.
Oh yeah. Yellow and black and ready to attack.
Ready to attack.
235. We are out.
Boom.